made it to Chirohustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channel and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes and continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Chiropractic Rocks, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, doTERRA, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, and Prime Spine Consulting. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 327 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your co-host Luke Millette, and here's your host Jim Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Zach Thomas, and if you want to hear a story of vitalism and powerful mentors, this guy has the big idea. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Today it's 327, and Zach Thomas is on the other line, coming in from the beautiful state of Ohio. You guys are doing big stuff out there. It's Columbus, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Columbus, Ohio. Zach Thomas, Jim Chester here, Grand Junction, Colorado. And before we get into this episode, like we always do, just set some ground rules for people to know where we stand. We do support subluxation-based chiropractic. We do support innate intelligence, universal intelligence, and we do keep free speech alive in the beautiful profession of chiropractic. Now that that's said, I'm really excited to have you on today, man. Thank you.
Excited to be here.
Yeah. So one of the things that we always are blessed to hear on this show is people's story of how they got into chiropractic. And what's your story, man? How did you get into chiropractic, and where are you today?
Yeah. So, I'm not a chiropractic kid. I'm a first generation chiropractor.
Amen.
I didn't receive my first adjustment until I was 23. After I actually had two herniated discs, lower lumbar, from deadlifting with not great form in my early 20s, right? That eventually led me to a chiropractor, right? Kind of went the traditional medical route. Wasn't helping. And, it was it was probably about 3-minute interaction with an orthopedic that really kind of got me in a mind space of like wanting to look for something else, right? Because, year after doing it, go back like, hey, doc, like still don't feel right. What can you do, or what can I do? Can you help me out? And like I said, 3-minute conversation, writes me a prescription for Vicodin and basically puts me out the door, right? As I walked out of that office, ripped that prescription up to shreds, threw it in the trash, and kind of went on my way and started to try to figure out what else I could do. Eventually led me to a chiropractor from a then colleague of mine. I was a personal trainer at the time. So somebody I was working with kind of led me that way. Got my first adjustment by a amazing chiropractor here in Columbus, Stephanie Gudorf. And man, I tell people all the time, I will never forget that experience. I left that office that day, walking out to my car, just think like my vision seems clearer, colors seem brighter, like my mental clarity seems better. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, what was that? Like, what the heck just happened? And how can I do that? Right? How can I do that for people? And that's just kind of how it all started. She went to Life University, and I pretty much just took her at her word for it and was like, all right, well, I'm going to apply to Life. I didn't apply to any other schools. I only applied to Life, never visited Life. My first day on campus was first day of new student orientation in the fall of 2013. I graduated in the summer of 2017. I came straight back to Ohio after that, and been serving the people ever since.
Dude, really proud of you. It's cool story. It does something to the essence of a human when they're connected with chiropractic.
Yeah.
Like you said, it cleared up things that you didn't even go in there for.
Mm-mm.
And I hear that story time and time again.
I know. It's amazing.
So the chiropractor got you adjusted.
Yep.
And sparked some interest in you. You felt a lot better.
Yeah.
How long did it take for you to get the big idea?
Man. Yeah. So I didn't know anything about, she was giving me a little bit of kind of like the principles, right? Obviously first time patient. She wasn't just like, blowing my hair off with everything first day. She was just kind of giving me a little bit. I think I only saw her for like 6 months before I ended up leaving for chiropractic school. Right. So from the time that I got my first adjustment to the time I left, no, I take that back. It's about 9 months. From the time I got my first adjustment to the time I actually showed up at Life University was about 9 months. So I got a little bit of there. I distinctly remember second quarter, I believe. So at Life, we had assembly every week, right? So it was a requirement, and to go to assembly and listen to whoever was coming. It was actually Dr. Judson. Steve Judson was there. And if you ever heard Dr. Judson talk, he's a very passionate dude, brings the fire every time. And man, he was just up there for an hour, just letting it fly. And I was just like, what are these green books he's talking about? Like, what is this thing? Like, and I went after he got done talking in assembly, I literally went to the bookstore at Life University and bought a green book. Right. I was just like, I don't know what this is. He's freaking just on fire about this. So I feel like I should probably go read these things. Right. So that's kind of how I started, starting to get that process. And then obviously you get our philosophy classes at Life too, especially in the first couple of quarters, kind of just like introducing this whole new paradigm to me. But I guess the biggest kind of where that all kind of came full circle for me, man, it was the first time I got to spend a weekend with Arno Bernier at an MLS seminar. Right. So when I got there and having him kind of distill more of the things that I was learning and kind of putting that into practice, it was just this huge, just kind of light bulb explosion type of aha moment for me that then kind of got me going and branching out and kind of figuring out all these other things, through school and into now.
Dude, that's super, super, super powerful story. Because I do think that you're not alone. I think that a lot of times people get into chiro school and they don't understand really what chiropractic is until they get that adjustment. Some people don't get adjusted until they get into chiropractic school.
Yeah.
So really, really cool story that you're sharing there. Shout out to Steve Judson. Thanks for lighting Zach up with the green book. And Dr. Arno, shout out to you as well for doing what you do with MLS. And I was reading through your bio that you sent over, and you do some work with MLS.
I do.
Let's talk about that a little bit. I think that's really cool.
Sure. Yeah. So I was actually, went to the seminars as a student, actually ended up having the opportunity to be basically like student staff. So just kind of like helping out with the seminars as I was a student at Life. And then after I graduated, I kind of transitioned into more of a active staff member position with MLS seminars. Right. So actually one of my very best friends was actually just on here with you not too long ago, Nate Garowitz.
Oh, cool. Great guy.
So, yeah. So he and I have been on staff with MLS pretty much together, right, through chiropractic school and out, right. So we've been kind of, we jokingly say, we've been running buddies for quite a long time, right. So yeah, I had that opportunity to be there now with Nate, but then also the lead docs, Wade Port, Jim Deegan, Emily Mayo, and that whole crew is just, it's an amazing thing because it's my way to give back, right, to mostly the students, but every once in a while, every couple of seminars, we get a handful of docs that come back, which is also really cool. But MLS, what it stands for, the principles and the path that Arno kind of set out with that, it literally changed my life, right? Changed who I am as a person. which then in turn, changed how, I parent my daughter, how, her health trajectory has gone, what me and my wife do for her health. Right. Just from that ripple effect of being at that seminar. So just being able to go back and have the opportunity to maybe do that for other people is what really keeps me going back. And it's just my chance to, stay dipped in to chiropractic and to the students, and kind of stay current, if you will, with where they're at, what's going on. It's just it's a true blessing. And Jim Deegan, great mentor, friend, obviously lead facilitator with MLS. He always says, this is a get to, right? We get to do this. It's not a have to, and it's one of the greatest get tos of my life. Yeah.
This is true journalism, man. It's a pleasure to have you on. You actually get it because you understand media. And I know that one of the things that I was curious to get into with you today was you've been being a proponent of Joe Rogan and him having valuable guests on there. I guess it's kind of self-serving, but it's not. But what does Chirohustle offer to chiropractic as a media source? And why is it important for us to have these media outlets that tell this chiropractic story?
Yeah, man, it's awesome to have this for the profession, just because it's an outlet for, what we know to be true in chiropractic and how it fits into not only the long-term health and vitality of our practice members, of our families, but then for I think of students as well, is having this as something that they can then tap into to see docs out in the field, talking through what's going on, how they apply the different principles, the different practices within their own practice, to kind of start to kind of give them kind of a framework that they might be able to build off of, right? And I think that's something within the chiropractic profession that is very much needed, is just these lighthouses, if you will, these home bases that we know that we can kind of tap into to get the truth and to get the things that are going to help us, continue to move forward and help impact more and more people.
Yeah, I agree. I also want you to connect me with Jim Deegan after the show if we can,
Oh, yes,
so I
absolutely.
can get him on a show.
A beautiful, beautiful man. You will enjoy his time. I will get you that for sure.
Yeah, and you are right. We have to create lighthouses, and we've been supporting Vitalistic Chiropractic since day one. And I think that that's something that the world needs to know. Not only your practice members, not only your colleagues, not only your family. Joe Rogan, he needs this message.
Yeah, for sure.
The people out there that are really fighting for a better quality of life long term for humanity. Those are the people that we need. Zach Thomas on Joe Rogan. We need Arno on Joe Rogan.
Yeah, for sure.
We need guys and gals that are willing to talk about the sacred trust that we protect. I didn't say that at the beginning like I always do, but we do protect the sacred trust with what we do. And we salute vitalism within this profession. And that's really what makes our show so unique and powerful when it comes to what you're saying is becoming a lighthouse. Is it's so damn consistent that you can't move away from what we do. And we've been on a slow march for a long time. And, having you on episode 327, it's a really cool thing for me because I think it's timely. And maybe it wasn't right episode 300 or episode 125. Sure. But now I feel like you've matured quite a bit too over the past 4 years since we've been producing this show. And you've had a chance to implement some strategies into your life for health. Like you said, the way you raise your daughter. Let's talk about some of that stuff. Talk about how
Sure.
You've made some transitions over the past year to take care of yourself, become more accountable for your own health, and not just through chiropractic stuff, but you've been really focused on getting stronger and smarter and healthier, right?
I have, yeah, for sure. So it was actually the day after my birthday in December of 2020 is actually when I started my first go round with 75 hard. Right. So that was kind of the big first step for me in this past year to really kind of take that to the next level. Right. And, I did it with the intent of just personally, just like leveling up, right. To take my commitment to the next level, right. To take, my consistency to the next level, right. It's because, I've had, those are things that I've struggled with over, a lifetime already. Right. So, I've been blessed to have some really, and still do have some very amazing friends in my life, right. That I can lean on, to ask them like, hey, where am I slipping up a little bit? Or, how can I improve or something like that. Right. And, hearing those responses and really letting that sit in, I'm just like, you know what, like it's time, right. It's time to not let that be a part of who I am anymore. Right. It's, if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And why the heck not go for it with something as challenging as 75 hard. Right. So just kind of threw myself in the fire, if you will. And I know you're going through it as well. So, very, very intimately how challenging that program is, right. And what it brings out in you and what what you're forced to do on that program if you're going to do it the way it's laid out. Right. So that was kind of my first step, man. And I finished that first round in March of last year, March of 21, and was just on fire, man. I felt more like myself than I had in 4 years. More energy, more clarity, just running on all cylinders, man. And I went back and actually looked. And during that time that I was doing the 75 hard, was gaining all this personal confidence, doing all these things for myself. The office I work for, and I'm associate here in the office in Columbus, my numbers went up like 25, 30% during that time. Right. And the only thing I did different was doing all of those things through 75 hard. Right. I wasn't doing really anything different in the office, but my numbers went up. Right. Then went ahead. I did phase 1, phase 2. And then I'm trying to think, my birthday this year, I kind of lined it up to basically have that end a second round of 75 hard. So I did it again, which most people, I told them when I was doing it again, thought I was absolutely nuts. But learned even more again the second time. Right. And just kind of coming full circle. It's just like, man, like that 2021 was an awesome year for me personally, man. I learned so much. I'm in the best shape I've ever been in, physically, mentally. My relationships are better. Man, it just has really totally encompassed every aspect of my life in every way possible. And that's right. When people ask me like, hey, should I do this? I'm like, yes, absolutely, you should do it. But then obviously there's some asterisks I'd normally give them and just kind of to help them along. But it's challenging, and it's challenging for a reason, because when we do hard things, we find out who we are. And when we find out who we are, we tend to have more self-compassion, more self-love, more self-respect, which then also then allows us to just be a more potent and powerful version of ourselves.
I think that you definitely given some people some clarity on personal development and what it means to know yourself. I know that when we know ourselves with more clarity, it's easier for us to our vibrational frequency shifts.
Absolutely.
And when you start doing things that are really meaningful to you, that up your game, you can't go unnoticed. And when your numbers increased 20, 30%, that's a direct correlation with finding somebody that's on fire.
Yeah. And do you know what
I'm
crazy?
Surprised it wasn't 100%.
And you know what's crazy, Jim, is right before I started the second round in October, I actually went to like the admin, front desk staff, and was like, hey, I'm getting ready to do this program again. It's about to get really, really busy. It's about to, we're about to get slammed again. So just like get ready. and they kind of looked at me like, okay, yeah, cool. And then it happened. So that was really, really cool. We ended the year on fire here as well, and kind of starting it off here again. But yeah, man, it's such an interesting thing when, and it sounds, for anybody that hasn't kind of delved into that or kind of had experiences with that, when you tell somebody like, hey, yeah, like I saw this increase in my business, but I was actually just taking care of myself more. Right. It's just really interesting thing, and how we as humans have this pull and this interaction and this power, not only over our personal self and our bodies and our health this way, but as we start to, as you pointed out, as we're getting clearer there, we start pumping out all that good energy and that good vibrations out there. And then people are like just attracted to it, and they may not know why, but they just start showing up.
You've made it to Chirohustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Chiropractic Rocks, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, doTERRA, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, and Prime Spine Consulting. Let's hustle. I've been listening to this guy because I'm a part of a business called Digital Hustle, and one of the lead inside of there, he sends me content by this guy named Alex Hermosi, and Alex Hermosi was a part of Russell Brunson's inner circle early on, and he did something called Gym Launch, and he taught people that had boxes how to make money with their gyms. But he's like, I hit like a threshold of like where I plateaued with like growth, and I was making millions of dollars. But he's like, I wanted to find out from people that were making billions of dollars what they were doing and how they were getting there. And he's like, all of them had one thing in common. They all focused on one thing that was highly valuable. They focused on things that had a high level of value, and they worked in that vertical. So you work with human performance.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's nothing greater value in my personal life that I've found that could be more important to somebody than having their health.
Absolutely.
There's sayings, and you probably heard them, that a man or woman with their health has a million dreams, and a man or woman without their health has only one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's very poetic when you think about it. But when you think about the plateau of making money, that's a whole nother thing. But then when you think of the plateau of serving more people, because you took care of you, that's the real value. That's where you hit that plateau, and your body and health is multimillionaire status. And now you can serve more people with that, which I think is just really brilliant, man.
Yeah, it's been awesome so far, and kind of keeping it going. I can't. I'm kind of addicted to it now, man. I'm ready to see kind of where we can go this year.
We need to start 75 Hard Institute.
Yeah.
So talk about being a family man. What are you guys doing? I know we're in some really strange, wonky times with the way people are taking care of their families. What are you doing to keep your family healthy?
Man, we obviously everybody gets adjusted on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Right. My wife, my daughter, myself. Again, another one of my very best friends was just on your podcast, Gabby Goldock.
Yeah, she rocked, by the way.
Yeah, she's about 5 minutes away from my office, so we get together, we adjust each other at least once a week.
Amen.
And my wife and my daughter will get adjusted by her every once in a while. I take care of them, so they're getting adjusted by either one of us. We stay active. Obviously I'm exercising. My wife loves yoga, does all that type of stuff. We stay on top of our nutrition. We stay on top of our supplementation.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we don't do anything crazy, man. We just really stick to the fundamentals.
Living within the chiropractic code.
Yeah, man. And that's, this year we have our own chickens. So we're kind of starting to develop our own, food source. So getting our own eggs. We had a garden over the summer, growing our own veggies and stuff like that. So yeah, doing our best to get the most high quality nutrients and food into our system that we can.
Yeah, man, that's really cool. Thanks for sharing that, because I think you might inspire some people out there to think about what I call the chiropractic lifestyle. Some people that hear the chiropractic lifestyle kind of don't know how to really interpret that
Mm,
within the profession,
yeah,
outside the profession, like the whole thing. We just need to build more bridges for clarity for people,
yeah,
because everybody wants to throw rocks at each other when it comes to like what you say phraseology within this profession. So
sure.
the chiropractic lifestyle is awesome. Vitalism's
It is.
awesome. Taking care of yourself from above down, inside out's awesome. Connecting man the physical to man the spiritual through the adjustments, something really special. And,
Absolutely.
and when you can deliver that to your family, man, there's no better gift on planet Earth than to provide that to your family, man.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
Um, I'm going to talk a little bit more with you. I like the direction that we're going today. I kind of want a two-part question. If you could sit down and have lunch with somebody in the history of time, somebody
Mm,
that's inspired you, maybe not even a chiropractor,
yeah.
who would you like to sit down and have a meal with?
Oh man, that is a awesome question. Anybody. Um, hmm. You kind of caught me off guard with that one. I wasn't ready for that question. Man, somebody that's always intrigued me is Tesla, Nikola Tesla. Like just to like sit down and just like hear his story and like uh, hear what the heck was going on, like the truth behind so many of these things that we kind of know, but we don't really know. I think that would be super cool, and just because he had such an awesome, I mean, he had such an awesome impact then. But even you look at now and just how everything that he was doing then is showing up again in our time. I think that would be really cool to sit down and chat with him. Um, but man, I also think sitting down and talking with some of these early chiropractors would be really cool. Like obviously like BJ, um, Dr. Fleet comes to mind. Like all these, these guys that were getting these amazing results and had, lines around blocks and people lining up to get their cares. Just like sit down and chat with them and just like be in their presence would be so cool.
Yeah, talk about Fleet for a minute. How much do you know about Fleet?
Very little, to be honest with you, very, very little. And just from the little that I know, I'm just like, what? No, like, I got to know more about that, right? Just to kind of like know what he was doing, or even just not even know, just like see what he was doing and just like see him in his flow and like in his practice would be really cool.
Well, it's based on concept therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And Peter Goldman and his group with Zone School, they do a lot
Mm-hmm.
of Fleet's work. And it's really awesome, because the thing I love so much about this type of adjustment is because psychologically they put you into a state when they talk to you,
Mm-hmm.
and they do a lot of visualization, and then they deliver the adjustment.
Yeah.
And I think that when you have a mental synapse of a visual with the impulse of the adjustment, it does something to the way
Oh, for
that
sure.
people's body has a chance to shift and heal.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really what I think is really cool about. And I really believe that that was the early work of Didi as well, is he wanted to find out where there were lack of mental synapse and how that lined up with the spine.
Mm-hmm.
And if he could start doing that type of work with people, it would clear up some of these concerns that we know as symptoms.
Yeah.
And what I mean, back then they had a whole different library of things that people got the ills for. Now we've repurposed those and given them new names,
Sure.
um, and new codes to go along with them. But when it came down to like the history of chiropractic, I think it's really cool to see your interest as how did they start the first school? How did they get the lines around the
Mm-hmm.
streets and have to reroute traffic because this one guy was experiencing
Yeah.
miracles with
serving
the
the
people
people.
that came in. And people will always come when there's a hungry crowd, they'll show up.
Yeah.
And I think that says something really special about Fleet and BJ and Tesla and a lot of the early stuff when it comes to where we are today. I know we're getting up to the edge of our time together today. Who are some of your heroes, man? Like I know probably without even asking, you're going to say Arno,
Yeah, absolutely. For
and
sure.
Steve, but maybe who are some of your heroes that help develop you into who you are besides those guys?
Chiropractically speaking.
Yeah. Let's go that route.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. Another big influence on me, Dr. Gilles Lamarche,
Amen.
at Life University. Had the pleasure of spending a lot of time with him while I was there. If you probably met him and spent some time with him. He is an amazing soul. Love him dearly. And he, helped mold me. Dr. Eric Plasker as well. Spent a lot of time with him down at Life. But then, kind of through Arno, Wade Port, right? Probably my biggest mentor, chiropractically speaking, would be him, right? My wife had the chance to work at his office for 2.5 years while we were down in Atlanta. I've spent countless hours with him in his office, at workshops, at seminars. He officiated my wedding, right? He helped take care of my daughter when she was born when we were in Atlanta. He's just been a very integral part of not only my chiropractic life, but my life in general. I love him dearly. And he has really impacted me in so many ways. He's probably on the top of that list for sure.
Really, really awesome stories, man, and really good connections. And I can feel your heart in this interview today. Let's close out with a miracle story.
Yeah.
I love this part because it gives people something to hold on till to the end of the interviews. And I know it's one of people's favorite episodes because they tell me, or parts of the episodes because they tell me.
Sure.
So share with me something that's gone on in your career that you've seen happen in your office or someone else's office that that was a miracle event.
Yeah. Man. Let me try to think about. I want to try to rack my brain for a second, just so I can think of a really good one for you. Oh man. What was his name? So I don't remember the person's name, but I remember the person, kind of the whole interaction. It was actually when I was doing my internship with Wade at his office in East Cobb, down in Atlanta area, right? We had this guy coming in, surgical fusion in his neck. There we go. Had been told all of these things about how, he couldn't do XYZ the rest of his life because of what was going on, right? This dude was about as uncomfortable and in pain as you can get, right? And Wade starts taking care of him. I'm there, helping the process, but Wade's taking care of him. He's adjusting him. He's doing what Wade does best. And man, just to see this man change from this closed off, angry, hurt individual to where, as he's going through care, and I remember one of the biggest things that I always remember about this story was, when we asked him, like, hey, like, what's the biggest change? Like, what's going on? Like, what are you noticing? Right. His biggest answer, tears in his eyes, I'm a better father to my kids. I'm nicer to my kids. I'm not as angry at my kids, to my family, to my wife. Right. We had no idea that was going on. Right. That wasn't on the intake form when he came in. He didn't tell us about that. Right. But by opening up, right, that spring of life, right, opening up that intelligence within him, allowed him to then reconnect more to himself, which then allowed him to then be able to connect better to his kids, right, to his wife. Right. So I've got chills saying it now. I get chills talking about it every time, because in my mind, it's like, well, the ripple effect of that, right? Yes, in the moment, that care allowed him to be a better version of himself. Obviously he's not as uncomfortable anymore, but his life has changed. He as a person has changed. And because of that, who knows what has now changed for his relationships with his family, with his kids, all those things. Right. So that's always been one of the coolest ones for sure.
Great. Thanks for the share. I appreciate you being on with us today, Dr. Zach. If people want to find you or know more about you, do you have any websites that we can send them to?
Yeah, man, I spend most of my online time on Instagram. You can always find me there at doc.zt. It's probably the easiest way to connect with me. You can find me on Facebook, Zach Thomas DC. Yeah, man, those are probably the easiest ways.
All right. Any websites? We like to post those with our episodes.
Sure. Our practice website is reichertfamilychiropractic.com.
How do you spell that?
REICHERT, familychiropractic.com.
Shout out to Reichert Chiropractic. All right. My notes are all collected. I want to thank you for being on the show today. I know you got patients to go take care of.
Yes.
And
Appreciate
you're gonna go turn some power on with some people that need it. And yeah, you're episode 327 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. It was a pleasure having you on, man.
Yeah, man. Pleasure being here.
All right, man. Well, I want you to have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, man. Peace.
All right. Bye for now.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.